Age of Ultron isn't just a middle child in the MCU, it's the movie that laid the foundation for everything that followed. From the Avengers' fractured relationships in Civil War to the ultimate showdown in Infinity War and Endgame, today we're diving into how Age of Ultron is better than you remember, and how its dialogue, its character moments, and the themes of the film set the stage for the epic finality of what was the Infinity Saga. So if you like the movie, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and I have many other videos on this channel that we talk about movies. If you're a film geek like me, if you like to talk about movies and watch them, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about the other movies we've talked about on this channel. So we'll get right into it. Avengers Age of Ultron, as you guys may remember, was a story about how the Avengers, after needing to go on a treasure hunt for Loki's scepter after the first Avengers movie, in this movie we see Tony Stark's attempt to create a peacekeeping AI. And no, this wasn't no ChatGPT or Gemini AI type thing. It was going to be a robot, as the movie says, a suit of armor around the world that would protect the Earth from invaders, from essentially what would eventually be coming to the Earth. As the story goes, Ultron ended up turning on the Avengers, which led to them needing to confront Ultron, as well as their own flaws, their own fears, and their fractured unity. Enemy in this movie was not Ultron, it was the Avengers themselves. They needed to prove themselves as heroes, not monsters. That they are not what is wrong with the world, but that they are actually benefiting the world, which was a very hard position for them to defend, considering the events of all their previous films. And just as the events in their previous movies, we see that the Avengers are not even very tight-knit. Ultron's goal in this movie, and he accomplishes that goal, is to dismantle this team, which he is able to accomplish with the help of a little bit of magic from what we eventually came to know as the Scarlet Witch. At the time, she was just an enhanced individual because movie studio rights, and we all know how that goes. Wanda in the picture, it seems like it wouldn't have been very hard to tear them apart, because the Avengers are constantly at odds in this movie. Tony and Steve clash over the ethics of creating Ultron, Thor and Bruce grapple with their own inner demons, and even Natasha and Clint, two of the closest friends on the team, find themselves questioning their own roles. But here's the genius of that: no one is actually in the wrong. Tony built Ultron out of fear, but his intentions are noble. He's the only one that actually experienced this alien army invading into space. He went through the portal in the first Avengers movie. Steve, on the other hand, opposes Tony's methods, but only because he values accountability and keeping others accountable. And Bruce, he helps Tony because he sees this as the scientific breakthrough of a lifetime. The chance for Bruce to actually be a hero with his mind and not need to be Hulk to be a hero with his strength. And all the questionable morality of this entire film is what makes this movie so compelling. It's not about good and evil. It's about getting a front seat to seeing the Avengers prove themselves as heroes and not as monsters. Ultron believes that they are what is wrong with the world, as he says in the movie, and Wanda believes this as well, so does Pietro. I mean, even Bruce Banner calls himself a monster after the Hulk rampages in the middle of the film. This movie really dives deep into the emotional side of these characters, that deep down, each of these characters secretly feels like they are monsters, like they are what's wrong. So they need to prove this to the world that they are not. They are there to help. They are there, that's what they want to do. And even more than proving it to the world, they need to prove it to themselves. Take Steve Rogers, for example. He's haunted by the idea that he can never go back to a normal life. It's all he thinks about. He still carries around the picture of Peggy from back in the day. Or Natasha, who in this film really opens up about her past and the guilt that she carries from her past decisions, her past actions. And these moments are not just character backstory, they're glimpses into why these people fight. And then there's Pietro and Wanda, who at the start of the movie begin as enemies, but they join the Avengers after seeing their true heroism. And that's something that the rest of the world had a lot of trouble seeing. But that's not all that made this film so great. There was so much character foreshadowing in this film. And I will give a quick rundown of a few examples of this because I think it's so awesome how eventually all of this came into fruition. And I don't think I'm giving any spoilers in saying all this because these movies have been out for years now. But for one, we see Tony talk about the fear of losing everything, which this comes full circle when he sacrifices himself to save half of the universe. Or second, we see Steve's frustration with their lack of unity, which foreshadows his role as the glue that holds the team together and eventually being the one to break the team apart at the end of Civil War. Or another example of how Thor doubts his worthiness in this movie because of the visions he saw. The visions where he's told that he is a destroyer, and the whole movie that lingers in the back of his head. And that was setting up unknowingly to the time what became Thor Ragnarok, which is another amazing film. When this movie first came out, it was poorly received to say the least. But the way that I like to think about it is it's kind of like when you watch a master chef lay out all the ingredients for a dish in front of you, but you won't get to taste it until hours later. But once the chef is allowed to, no pun intended, cook, realize that it was absolutely worth the wait, and you just look back on it hoping to taste that dish for the very first time. Just like now, we all miss those golden years of Marvel. Which is why I believe this movie, although not a perfect movie, not a perfect film, but I believe it was a perfect setup for the future Marvel movies in the years to come, which we now know as the Infinity Saga. I guess technically you can attribute anything to be the start of what was the masterpiece we know as Avengers Endgame, although I think it's a little silly to go as far back to say that Stan Lee's writing of the characters is what started it all, although it did, but not necessarily this cinematic universe context. So I really believe, let me know what you think about it in the comments, but I believe whenever you feel the weight of Tony's sacrifice, or you feel the victory of Steve's triumph, or you relate to Wanda's pain, that this is where it all started, of special individuals that had been brought together in the previous film, in this film, proved themselves to be better than what everyone thought of them, and better than what they thought of themselves. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did you enjoy the Infinity Saga? I loved it, and I wish we got those years back. These days with what Marvel's doing is hit or miss, honestly, for me. But I am very excited to see what comes up with the future projects, such as Avengers Doomsday, characters like Spider-Man, and in general, the direction they'll take. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and check out the other videos on the channel. I really like making these. I love talking about movies. Do you enjoy superhero movies? Is that something you guys would like to see covered on the channel a little more often? Let me know in the comments, and in any case, this has been the Cinematic Rush. Always, Jesus loves you. See you guys next time. Peace out.